Doesn't do backwardsness?
No, it still flips it backwards. Everybody, we're just discussing inputs, and you want to shut the curtain? It's fine with me, but it seems like it's blinding you. No, not that one. That was okay. Huh? Hey, everybody, we're getting our act together. There's some announcements here.
Oh, they are here.
That Shelly has.
Happy New Year is Shelly's
That's
first
the first
announcement.
one. I'm gonna get my light up because it's a little dark without.
Well, I can open this back up.
No, it's okay. This will work. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Happy New Year. Happy 2020. It's been like 3 weeks since we've seen you. I feel like it's been forever. Okay, hopefully this won't blind you. Are you ready?
It will. I don't like this light at all. Okay. Leave it on that setting. Not the.
I'm trying to make it lower. How's that?
That's good.
That's better? Okay,
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep.
You have to take my glasses off or it looks crazy. Happy New Year, 2020. Hopefully everything is awesome. I actually I want to show off. I actually put things in the planner.
Ew.
I know, right? I'm so proud of myself. So proud of myself. We'll see how long it lasts. But yeah, it's awesome.
So Shelly pointed out yesterday she heard a whatever something that it's it's either things are very, like meme or news or whatever, but this is in the miscellaneous bucket.
Okay.
So in the late 90s, the show That 70s Show came out.
Yeah.
So if today a show like That 70s Show came out, it would be about
That
the late 90s
show. Yeah.
How old does that make you feel?
Oh,
That's
I've already
crazy.
felt old all the time. It doesn't really matter.
That's crazy to me. Can you imagine if there's a show called That 90s Show?
Holy cow, I don't know what's happening. It's freaking out.
They could just actually re-air 90210 and it would be that.
Yeah, right. That's all it would take. Yeah, and Friends is back, so I guess they kind of are doing
See?
That 90s show.
Okay, so announcements. How the Hell Did I Get Here premiere with Jennifer Farr Davis will air tomorrow. And so that's cool. Rachel will be going to Kelowna.
I think it's Kelowna or Kelowna. I'm going to find out when I get there.
Kelowna sounds very Canadian, so let's go with that.
Kelowna, Canada.
Kelowna, Canada. Next week,
It's in the BC, British Columbia, but it's on like the east side of the Rockies, so it's kind of on the Calgary side of the Rockies. It's going to be cool. I've never been there.
It'll be pretty.
Yeah, it looks really beautiful.
My neighbor is going to Calgary, and it was -11. So,
okay,
but you're further
west, so maybe it'll be warmer. And we're going to be working with NCAN Solutions, which is a cannabis company. They do processing of cannabis to THC and what's the other one? CBD oil, which is really cool. They have a pharmacist on staff and all the things to make sure everything is medical grade and stuff like that. And they're working with another firm that's going to join us for some training and some executive alignment stuff. So it's going to be awesome.
There's a Junior Achievement Cornhole Tournament. As you all know, Junior Achievement is my philanthropic baby right now.
That's right.
And so we're putting on a cornhole tournament to raise money to put volunteers in classrooms within the Northern Hills, Black Hills area. So if you like to play bags or cornhole and you have a buddy that wants to come with you, you should join us on January 18th for the Cornhole Tournament. It's going to be at the Deadwood Mountain Grand, which is the first ever, actually, Cornhole Tournament that has been held upstairs in the Deadwood Mountain Grand. So don't miss out on that opportunity. Definitely, you can add that to your bucket list.
Is that in the concert venue?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a cool building too, and a cool place to hang out. So, of course, as you're waiting for your round of cornhole to come, you just go downstairs and have a drink or
there'll be drinks up there. There's a bar upstairs.
Awesome. It's just a fun hangout time.
Yeah.
For the whole day that's a Saturday, right?
It is a Saturday on the 18th, and Shelly will put the registration link in the comments. Perfect.
She's already on it.
We prep. You should read this part.
Oh, yeah. Under duress. We practice what we preach. So prompted actually by Susan, our new consultant, we are going out as a team event, team activity tonight to dinner at the Buffalo Jump in Beulah Steakhouse. And so that will be really fun. This is something that is definitely for the team-oriented humans, the fixers in the crowd, and Meg is our independent. So she's coming. And frankly, my boyfriend, Cappy, who's also an independent, is like, oh, yeah. I'm like, yep. He's like, well, if I'm going, Meg's going. I said, oh, yeah, she does.
You said that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
if I have to go, Meg has to go.
Quillen, who's an organizer, so he's also on the self-driven side. He and I were both like, oh God. I said, I'm giving you plenty of warning so you know that we have to go team and be people-y.
That's right. You have to go do more people things. Okay. I think that's it for now. We have our weekly writing prompt. Do you want to do that at the beginning of the show or the end of the show? Probably the beginning, because then we want it because we're already 5 minutes in or 6 minutes in. So.
I don't know what this is because I don't look at
the writing prompt. Well, the writing prompt is on this month's theme, I think, is goal setting. And so what we do is every week in the bottom right hand side of your week down here, yep, is an area for either gratitude, journaling, or IX writing prompt. So this week's writing prompt is what are 3 strengths you have that will help you achieve your 2020 goals? So the nice thing about writing down your strengths is then you can always flip back to the first week of the year and remind yourself of how awesome you are, which always helps actually stay true to your vision and achieve your goals. So that's our weekly writing prompt. What are 3 strengths you have that will help you achieve your 2020 goals? Are you going to put that on the thing, on the comments? That would be great. So Shelly's going to include those in the comments. So if you didn't get it down, you can go back and check it out.
All right.
All right.
So now, do we need to read this?
Nope.
Are you sure?
You can if you want.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't make this by accident.
Oh, you want this back? Okay, sure.
Okay, the quote of the week. These are by the week, I think.
Yep.
Aspirational goals create beauty, inspire creativity, and invite meaning. That's on page 138 of the book, if you're inclined to.
Yeah, and actually, we are technically on the second week, January 6th to the 12th, right?
It's a twofer. You get 2 this week. The first sign of having an aspirational goal is most people think you're crazy. Also on page 138. And I can attest to that.
Preach, sister.
Yeah.
Reach.
Cool. So this week, what we're talking about is succession planning. And Rachel's bringing up the question.
I got the questions.
So this is something that most companies, I would say, probably don't pay attention to. I mean, not on purpose. A lot of people kind of intuitively think or subconsciously think, well, we kind of know because of our org chart and sort of how things work. We know that, if this person quits or can't work, then this person under them will assume their duties. And the piece that's missing in that really when you're working on succession planning, well, there's a couple, but the big one really in terms of emergency planning, if you will, is you don't really know if that person under the person is qualified to do the work. Typically they're not. They know usually what the role is. They know kind of day to day what that person has to accomplish, but they probably most of the time don't have the chops to just step right in and start carrying things out. So you can see a dip in production, maybe a dip in culture because there's a change, obviously. So that's going to cause some sort of what the heck going on. But if they don't know what they're doing, then it's even more drastic. So, and that's not always avoidable. You don't want everybody to be ready exactly at that moment, no matter what, to succeed whoever is ahead of them. Because then you have the issue of people thinking, I should have that job, and then they go find it somewhere else if they're more chaos tolerant. But you want to be able to think about what sort of support that person will need if they do need to take that role over in an immediate sense.
So how is it, so succession planning generally is sometimes the whole company is owned by a family and they want to get out. And so they're either going to sell it or give it to the son or give it to the employees. Sometimes that happens. But what it sounds like you're saying is there's also succession planning for leadership roles, right? So there's probably sort of a different, what is it kind of the same process? whether it's like an internal leader or like the big top end stuff, or what do you think?
I think no matter the reason for succession, I think a company should have a succession plan for not every employee, but any employee that's going to be moving laterally or vertically into a leadership role, or from one leadership role to another, this way, or like out of, a mid-level leadership role, maybe, or not any leadership, but into something. I think it's important to have a succession plan for all those people. And I would say mostly the same. If you're a son or a daughter taking over a business, that's probably a lot more involved.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the family relationship, you probably have an opportunity to spend more intimate time with that person. They're likely your parent, aunt, uncle, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably learn more. I guess in those roles, you learn more through osmosis, even just because you're around. But I think no matter what the situation is, whether you're a family-owned business and you're talking about, transitioning into a CEO role or some sort of executive role, and somebody's moving out of the family business or just inside your company, you should definitely have succession plans.
So to me, as a chaos person, that feels really overwhelming. Like, so this is our role. If this person, if that role becomes vacant for any reason, that means this person is the next, you're sort of going to take their duties temporarily until we hire somebody. So like, how far down the rabbit hole do you go? So you feel like you have a plan, but it doesn't feel like a huge amount of work with really not a lot of value in the end, or maybe the value is enough to put the work in up front.
Well, there's lots of systems. I can't remember the one that there's lots of systems, good and bad, that you can use for succession planning. And when I say systems, I don't mean like ones where you have to spend a bunch of money on them, but like you can Google succession plan template and whatever. But I just kind of, I just still think like anybody who's in a leadership role, and it is kind of overwhelming. Even if, when I was in my role, I was responsible for getting the succession plan all put together for our site with the GM's help and all the other managers. But I mean, there was 35 people that we had to have a plan for, but you have high performers. So then there's more information that goes along with them. And what are we doing to get them ready for the next level? And when will they be ready for it? And what do we need to, what steps do we have to take? What milestones do they need to hit? And then there were people who were maybe just at the beginning of sort of their leadership journey or career. So they're a frontline supervisor. There wasn't a lot that went along with their profile.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a little overwhelming. And I think for smaller companies, if you're, if you don't have an HR person and you don't have time to dedicate to it, I would say 1 or 2 people below yourself if you're the owner.
Yeah.
Just so that stuff doesn't fall apart if you get hit by a bus.
Yeah, because it strikes me there's kind of 2 things there. One is your org chart, regardless of what humans are plugged in there. But then the other side is, here's the people we have on the team. Who's going to be the up and comers? What skill sets do they need to develop? Right. So it's almost like, on one hand, it's okay. Well, if this, if Susie goes out on maternity leave for 3 months, then we're going to have this person step in and cover. But it's almost like a role. That's kind of a role situation where otherwise it's kind of like developing your people. So what do you think is the more, effective way to do it? Maybe it's both.
Well, I think it's both, because what's also tied into your succession planning is your performance evaluations.
Mm-hmm.
So you use whatever performance evaluation that you have set up to kind of decide how people are developing or whatever. And then if you have some sort of a crisis and Susie goes out on, well, that's not a crisis.
Right. Not a crisis.
I guess that's not an emergency. Susie quits, then you just have whoever is really closest to her
role,
probably the person below her, but it might not be. I mean, it might be somebody lateral.
Mm-hmm.
So in that situation, I say you just replace them at that moment, interim, with whomever knows that position the best.
Mm-hmm.
But as far, because you're right, there's kind of two different pieces to it. One's performance based and one's structural based.
Right.
So in case of emergency, like you pull the structure,
you break the glass
and pull the structure handle, and then otherwise, it's kind of like the organic progression of someone moving through their career.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Cool. You can tell I don't know much about this. All I know is usually when people leave, there's chaos and duties get split up between random people, and you don't really know who's on first and who's in charge, and it's a mess. So that's my experience with succession, lack of succession planning. All right. So here's some questions. You may have answered some already.
What is the objective of succession planning?
Well, in my mind, the objective would be to reduce the amount of chaos associated with succession, because as we know, most of us are order tolerant. And I think the more we can create transparency and not craziness around it, I think that's better for our teams generally. So to me, just from a leader gut feel perspective, that seems the way that you'd want to do it for that.
Yeah. I would agree.
And I guess a more business thing would be keep productivity up, keep profitability up. You don't want to torpedo your good work by not having a plan in place.
Yeah. I mean, and I do think that that's what succession planning was born out of. What is the Richard Branson saying about train your people good enough that they can leave and do better, but have a culture where they want to stay.
Right.
And I think succession planning was born out of that lack of culture where they want to stay. So
right.
you have people who have worked their way up just organically through a company, but then you don't have a plan for them once they feel like they've hit some sort of a ceiling. Mm-hmm. And then that culture piece kind of goes out the window. Then you lose all that talent.
Right.
So succession planning, more than anything, I would say, because we have a client that talked about this, like people don't really see how they can move up in a company. They can understand it. Like you can look at an org chart and you can say, oh, well, clearly
I'm here.
I would succeed this person, who would succeed that person and as everyone shifts in a perfect world, then I'll move up the chain. But that's not really how it works. And then people get nervous about, oh my gosh, I'm going to be stuck in this role forever and all this crazy stuff. And then they feel like I'm never going to leave this role. And then that's going to be it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think succession planning, more than anything, the value of it is, besides the organizational value and all the stuff, is to give people an idea of what they have to do to be successful in your company and how to get there.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think one of the challenges that a lot of us have is when we were in our role and the next obvious promotion or move up is there's a role above us and there's somebody in there with 30 years left in their career. So what does that mean for me? Like, I have to wait until you die or leave? Like, what happens? And so I think that's really a key perspective about understanding how I can be successful, even if I don't change roles too. I think that's a big one, or how I can contribute to the company more over time without actually changing roles, if that's the case.
Yeah, and it does force the conversation of, hey, listen, my supervisor is not leaving here anytime soon. I want to be more impactful. I want to be more productive. There's lots more I can offer to this company. I'm not sure that I can do it from this role. So it kind of forces that conversation where the supervisor, or whoever they're talking to, HR person, whoever it might be, will say, well, Rachel, have you ever thought about going over to this department? Or, what if I gave you a mentor that's in this other department? Or, hey, have you ever thought about traveling? Would you, I've got a short-term position coming up where I need somebody who can travel around, blah, blah. You have the right skill set. Would you be willing to do that? So I think it makes sure that people don't get stagnant in their roles, because that can happen. I mean, you've got most of the world is stabilizers and organizers. Those people aren't going anywhere. They're pretty comfortable where they're at. So if that's your supervisor, you have to be creative about other ways you're going to be successful if you want to stay with that company. So
yeah, and I do like the idea too that if you are a stabilizer and you don't want to go anywhere else, how can you still feel like you're growing in the role that you're in? because that's important too. It's like even stabilizers just don't necessarily want to never grow or never feel like they have more value. So I think that's a big part too, is that in recognizing the people that are going to stay and how you could make sure they're contributing to their own growth and the company's growth. So Jason's on. He might be drunk or something.
Passionate
I don't
and
know
pretty
what
good.
he's talking about.
I think he's saying his
his 3 things.
his-
I see.
He's just behind. He just
like,
started from the beginning.
What are you talking
I know. Well, you were
about?
talking when he posted, so I had time to read it and process. I was like, oh, I get it.
Oh, sorry. Jason is sharing his 3 skill sets or whatever. we
Apparently-
said. Oh, Shelly wrote it in the comments as if it was a question. Okay, sorry, Jason. I'm catching up.
Apparently, Jason, one of your strengths is still talking like it's 1992. Yo.
Right.
Yo. Deuces, y'all.
Gonna
Okay.
shave the eyebrow.
Ew. All right. Why is succession planning important to an organization? Well, I think
we answered that question.
we answered that question. So, okay. How do you write a succession plan? Is that what it says?
Yeah.
How do you write a succession plan?
Oh man, this seems like a terrible thing to me.
You
love this kind of stuff.
Well, we used I can't remember the name of there was some sort of a program that we used, and it was like there were 9 different it was awful. It was obnoxious as hell. Actually, we changed it. But when we started doing our succession plan that worked better, that was a lot less cumbersome. It was pretty simple. Like everybody had an Excel, because that's how I do things.
Spreadsheet.
Everybody had an Excel spreadsheet, and then it was kind of almost like a SWOT analysis of their performance, and then they got a rating based on when solid in their position, ready to move into another position laterally or vertically in 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, or ready now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of ranked them on that stuff and then put in their performance and then talk to them through their performance evaluation. We did all of ours at the same time, the succession planning and the performance evaluations, and said, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Mm-hmm. Put that in there. And then, so, I mean, it's cumbersome, like doing performance evaluations is cumbersome, but it's not worse than that. And I tried to always run them together so that it wasn't like I got to do all this twice.
Well, then you don't have to deal with the human. I mean, the humans don't have to deal with it twice. And then for the succession planning from the org perspective, I guess once you have your org chart and you sort of say, okay, this person leaves and this is going to be the acting sort of obvious role, then once you have that established, you probably don't need to mess with that too often, except maybe review it on occasion and make sure it still makes sense.
Once a year, or if you have somebody, if somebody vacates a major role, then you have to say, okay, well, obviously we move someone up or over to cover that, then that changes this other part of the succession plan. So how do we reorganize that? But yeah, otherwise that's pretty. And, the other thing just to keep in mind, I guess, is people's ability to do their job or desire to do it or whatever waxes and wanes. And so somebody might be an ace for a while, and then all of a sudden maybe they have something going on at home, or maybe they're not well, or they start a master's program or something, and then they're not really as committed to their work, then that's something to
actually change.
But the organizational succession planning thing is really all about gut feeling and a conversation. Mm-hmm. Like there's not an algorithm or anything that's going to say, boopity boop, oh, this person is going to be the obvious successor to this person forever and a day.
So how do you deal with in succession planning? Because individuals aren't isolated, right? They're in this sort of matrix of other humans. So how do you balance, like, okay, you've got 15 people that are really great and you want to keep them and you want to develop them, but there's only 4-5 jobs at some level, right? I mean, that's part of the pyramid. So what happens when you have 15 people that would be great at moving up, but you don't have enough roles?
The cream always rises. Yeah, I would say is my first, easy answer to that. And then I think it's really thinking about who's the right fit for the role, and you can do that, obviously gut feeling, whatever. You can look at their culture types, look at the culture type of the person that was in there last and see what differences there might be, where some people might struggle and where some might succeed really, really well. But I would say because I've been in that situation where it's like, geez, we've got 4 great candidates for this next frontline supervisor role. Like, who do we possibly pick? And a good way to figure out who should be in a role is you give everybody whatever amount of time you can, but like 30 days to be in the role, and then see who performs with the least amount of negative challenges. So if you and I and Shelly all apply for this role in an organization and we're all really awesome at our jobs, we all get 30 days or 60 or 90 or whatever at a time to do that
sort of like
job.
An acting capacity.
And it's like a live interview kind of, and see who actually does it the best. And
do you think that'd be too chaotic for the team under them?
It does cause a little bit of chaos. Everybody's like, oh, glad we're done with that, for sure.
Right.
But I think if you're, when I've done it in the past, we're super open and transparent with the group and say, hey, listen, here's how we're going to do this. And because it was a stabilizer group, here's how we're going to do it. Here's how long they're going to be in the role. Here's the order in which you're going to have them as a supervisor. So it wasn't like,
surprise,
yay, this is going to be so much fun to have all this change. But they, and they were excited when it was over, relieved when it was over, but it wasn't awful.
It wasn't panic inducing. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it for the questions.
It is.
And we're almost at a half hour. So if you have any questions or do like Jason and want to share your top 3, how do we say, strengths? Maybe we should put our top 3 strengths in there after the live. Shelly, I see Shelly nodding vigorously behind you. So my peripheral vision.
Shelly's always nodding vigorously.
Shelly's a sharer. We're sharers.
The thing.
Team people are sharers.
Well, let's just say what they are. I think I could think of mine.
Can you think of yours quick?
Yes. Persistence, and humor. I'm doing.
You got 2 persistence?
It's gotten me through a lot of
cheating.
So.
What are your, Shelly? Shelly hasn't written them out yet.
Oh, Shelly's acting like a stabilizer. Surprise. Come on, chaos tolerance. Tell us what they are.
Probably persistence, kindness.
Persistence, kindness, and strength. What's your 3rd strength?
Getting people to do stuff.
Talking people into doing stuff. Getting people to do
Persuasiveness.
Things. Persuasiveness. There, it's a good word for it. Let's see. Mine would probably be intelligence, which I always value. I'd say persistence, stubbornness, maybe around here would be a better way to do
Maybe I should say persistence, stubbornness, and humor.
And I think my 3rd one is flexibility. I really, I feel like I can, not right away. I always have that little resistance in the beginning of anything, but I feel like I can pivot pretty easily. So.
Yeah, I would almost classify it as pivotability. You have very good pivotability.
All right,
you have a keen eye for seeing next opportunities.
I like it. Pivotability. I don't know what the hell that word is, but we're going to make it. We're going to make it.
We're going to make it so. We are persistent. We will make it so.
We're going to make it into a meme, and then it's a real word.
Yep, it's true.
Because that's how it works.
All right.
All right. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. And share it. You should share yours on here. Do we have any last thoughts, closing thoughts?
Well, no, we're going to be back next week.
We're going to be back next week. I might not be back next week.
Oh, yeah.
I think I have an offsite. I think I'm with the NCAN crew on Wednesday next week. So I will not be here. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. Meg, we'll see you next week.
You lucky buggers. Okay. Lead powerfully.
Change the world. Bye, guys.